a single lady. I'm a single lady.
No Bigfooters or Sasquatch were harmed during the filming of this video. Just their pride.
I know a lot of people like to order Christmas gifts right before the holidays, you know, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People hammer me, oh, he's just there to sell books. I'm just telling you this because you guys are friends. This is always the time where we start running low on products. If you're thinking about ordering Missing 411 books, now might be the time to do it. It takes us about a month and a half from the time we order books to get them. So we're probably not going to be ordering any more books the rest of the year. We have a pretty good supply right now of Bigfoot books and of Missing 411 books, so if you're interested, I would order them now to ensure you're going to get them for the holidays.
It's time for Off the Rictor, because Bigfoot is real.
Hey my little Squatch monsters, it's time to shake up the Bigfoot community. This is Off the Rictor.
It is not easy to constantly produce Bigfoot stuff.
Because I'm gonna film one today for you, I think. Maybe not physically like as we know it, but like where you could see it really good.
Oh boy, here we go. Make sure your seats are raised and tray tables locked in the upright position. This is a show where I roast Bigfoot attention whores and hoaxers and Bigfoot superstars. Like me.
Bigfoot is like cancer, in my opinion.
Did she just say Bigfoot's like cancer? Oh, honey. Bless her heart.
No. Bigfoot is not like cancer at all.
He looked like a Neanderthal man with a lot of hair. About 800 pounds. Massive.
God! Is everyone in Bigfooting a hoaxer?
Yes.
You want your Bigfoot video to be seen? Now's your chance.
You know, believe what you want. Believe what you want, run with it. Find your evidence, get what you're doing. Just don't be a dick.
Well, you haven't seen nothing yet. Let's be honest here, guys. I refuse to believe in Bigfoot.
So, Rictor, I have no doubts about your sincerity on this matter whatsoever. But I gotta tell you, my friend, a lot of people watching this, seeing the obviously disdain you have for the man, may think you have something, a grudge to grind.
No question.
Yep.
I don't lie. I don't hold things back. I'm probably the most honest person you've ever watched on YouTube.
Straightforward, he is.
The truth with Sasquatch lies with the Native Americans, and it's my job to point out the Bigfoot bullshit.
David Paulides, disinformation on COVID-19.
Hey, my little Squatch monsters. I'm going to do something a little bit different with this episode of Off the Rictor. Normally, I roast Bigfoot personalities that have a YouTube channel by presenting their statements they have said on video and roasted them. However, unfortunately, Bigfoot author David Paulides has made a few statements that I consider to be dangerous for the public.
First of all, my prayers to everybody out there who might be suffering from the flu and this coronavirus. Now, don't interpret anything by what I'm going to say, but as many of you know, I'm a man of facts. And I want everyone to go out there and Google an article from 2017, 2018. And the Googling part of it is CNN, 2017, 2018 flu deaths. There's been a series of physicians that have come out and talked about cloth masks, not the N49 or N99 masks, but just a piece of cloth you put over your face. That's like spitting through a cyclone fence. It may catch part of it, but it's sure not going to catch most of it. So really, what good are those?
I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
Why is our body our own in one instance? When people say, well, if you're a female and you become pregnant, you should be able to make that decision about keeping the pregnancy or not. And that's your body and you make that decision. But then when it comes to other issues, Your body isn't your own, and you can't make that decision. Other people are going to make decisions for you. And this is all about education and saving lives.
I decided to bring on a medical professional to talk about the statements, these claims that David Paulides has made in regards to COVID-19. Now, during my little interview with this medical professional, I'm going to be playing these clips of David's, and we're going to discuss them thoroughly. Now, my guest today is a registered nurse who is in critical care, who has taken care of COVID patients who have passed away. He has been in the medical profession for over 28 years. And Wesley, welcome to the program.
Hello, Rictor. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, Guy.
So as someone that has taken care of COVID patients who have passed away, and you saw the video clip of David saying this with his outreach of 320,000 people. As a medical professional, what are your thoughts on that?
My thought was that was kind of a reckless statement. If Mr. Paulides had any kind of a medical background at all, he would not be so liberal with his comments. And while I understand his approach, the rugged individual type, not everybody that reads his material or follows him is necessarily a young, healthy person that's going to get over it. So somebody that's 50, somebody that's 60 that has some problems, they may not survive it. Not a good idea.
Was it dangerous?
Yes, I think it was excessively reckless.
The coronavirus uses a protein on its surface, its spikes, if you will, to attach to and enter our cells. When you have antibodies, they will fit onto the spikes and block the virus from attaching. The COVID mRNA vaccines teach our immune system to make these antibodies. How do mRNA vaccines work? Well, mRNA is a genetic material that instructs our cells to produce proteins. The mRNA in the vaccine is wrapped in a layer of fat particles that protect it and help it to get taken up by specialized cells of the immune system called dendritic cells. Once inside these cells, the mRNA does not enter the cell's nucleus or interact with DNA, but remains in the cytoplasm with other mRNA molecules, waiting to create the enzymes our body needs. When ribosomes read the vaccine mRNA, pieces of the viral surface protein are made, and these pieces are then displayed on the surface of the dendritic cell. The dendritic cell travels to a nearby lymph node where it presents the surface proteins to other cells of the immune system. Some of these cells, called helper T cells, train these cells how to make antibodies that will fit perfectly on the surface protein of the virus. Other cells stimulated by the protein pieces, called cytotoxic T cells, can kill virus-infected cells. Now, when the coronavirus tries to infect us, our immune system is ready, immediately recognizing, neutralizing, and destroying it before we ever even have a chance to become sick.
Let's talk about face masks. Now, we had a discussion yesterday where you were explaining to me in depth the best face mask, the medium face mask, and then the weakest face mask. Now, here's a video clip of David Paulides talking about his antibodies being better than the vaccine and that cloth face masks are useless.
There's been a series of physicians that have come out and talked about cloth masks, not the N49 or N99 masks, but just a piece of cloth you put over your face. That's like spitting through a cyclone fence. It may catch part of it, but it's sure not going to catch most of it. So really, what good are those?
Most people usually wear these cheap little blue masks that are called procedure masks. These are intended for things like doctors putting stitches into a person, a 20-minute procedure where the main purpose of this mask is to keep the respiratory droplets from the doctor from contaminating the wound.
Now, that's not cloth.
No, it is not.
Okay.
These are simply designed to prevent contamination of the wound by the personnel working on the procedure. It hooks over the ears. It loosely fits around the face. It does not make a seal around the lower chin. It does not make a good seal around the nose. So when you breathe out, there is still respiratory droplets that are being introduced into the environment. So these are not the greatest masks.
So the paper masks like that, don't wear.
Surgical masks only block about 30% of your droplets. This mask might buy you a few extra minutes of protection, but not hours, not lengthy periods of time.
What's the next step up from a paper mask?
The next step up from the paper mask would be the procedure mask. And after that, the best level of protection would be the N95 mask.
Now, the majority of people don't have N95 masks. They have
they don't.
Cloth masks like this one.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to show you my problem with this particular Bigfoot cloth mask. It is so loose forming. It's what's the point of wearing this, right? I mean,
that's exactly right.
Now, not all cloth masks are like this. I have another pair of cloth masks that were made for my face that snug firmly and I comfortably wear when I go out in public.
Cloth masks not only effectively block large droplets, but they can also block exhalation of fine particles and droplets. Multiple layers of cloth masks can block up to 50 to 70% of fine droplets and particles. Upwards of 80% blockage has been achieved in human experiments that have measured blockage of all respiratory droplets.
So really, what good are those?
So, David, that's how good they are.
This is a regular, legitimate N95 mask that I purchased at Home Depot, a package of 2. It does not have the exhalation valve.
Like this one does.
The problem with the exhalation valve is that when that valve is open for a moment, there is still a possibility that when you breathe out, you're going to expose respiratory droplets to people around you. A regular N95 won't do that.
An N95 mask makes a very close facial fit and is very efficient at the filtration of airborne particles. They are designed to filter out 95% of large and small droplets and particulates.
Now, this almost feels like a suction cup is on my face. It feels like a toilet plunger. Because of this little vent here, especially with the Delta variant, it can come through this.
Absolutely, it can. Anytime you breathe out, if there's not a good seal around your face, if there's an exhalation valve that opens up when you breathe out, then there's going to be respiratory droplets that are in the environment. So you are potentially contaminating other people, even though you're wearing a mask that will protect you. It doesn't protect the other people. A regular N95 would protect other people.
So here's the recap. Paper surgical masks are not the best protection for COVID particles. Cloth masks are better than surgical masks at preventing the spread of COVID. N95 masks without a plastic filter are the very best way to prevent the spread of COVID.
And if you can, go to Home Depot and get the face mask that you're showing me right now.
Correct.
The N95, that's the one to get.
Absolutely.
In this video clip, David Paulides equates the vaccine to a woman's right to choose for abortions.
When people say, well, if you're a female and you become pregnant, you should be able to make that decision about keeping the pregnancy or not. And that's your body and you make that decision. But then when it comes to other issues, your body isn't your own and you can't make that decision. Other people are going to make decisions for you.
We as healthcare professionals are supposed to recognize people's right to choose to take the vaccine or not. We don't push it on them. We give them the facts. We let them make up their decision as adults and then either give them the vaccine, don't give them the vaccine, whatever. Arguing with people doesn't do any good. They're already entrenched in their position and we're not going to change it. If, however, they do get the vaccine, it's better off for them if they do catch the COVID virus and get sick with it. It will improve their odds of coming out alive on the other end.
Last I checked, a woman's right to choose doesn't interfere with my ability to live.
David's logic on this is a little bit flawed because it's not exactly the same thing. We all have to take certain vaccines to go to school. We have to take measles, mumps, and rubella, for instance. We used to have to take smallpox years ago, but they've eliminated that because the disease is eliminated. But there are other diseases that we have to take vaccines for. Nobody is forcing you generally to take this particular vaccine. But if you're an adult, the wise decision is to take it.
Okay, so I am about to get my COVID booster shot. It is painless. I have all my faith in science. I'm actually at Target getting my booster shot. I'm getting Pfizer. So this will be my third Pfizer shot. Let me get a shot. There we go. Yeah. That didn't hurt. Ow. I'm kidding. Thank you. What's the problem, guys? Get your fucking shot.
So here's a question for us. Should the government mandate the vaccine? And here's my opinion. Yes, under OSHA, which is what President Biden is doing. Now, my little Squatch monsters, I realize some of you don't know what OSHA means. It is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Did I get that right?
You got it.
Yay. Now, if you're a federal employee or you're in the military, the government can make you take the vaccine. And now they're asking OSHA for companies who have more than 100 employees to have their employees be vaccinated, which is an estimate of 80 million people now will be vaccinated if they all do this or claim, religious freedom. Suddenly Christian. Since my interview with RN Wesley, OSHA's implementation of the vaccine, unfortunately, has been suspended due to a court order. Everything is still pending. The states can mandate vaccines, like California with Governor Newsom mandating that all students be vaccinated in order to go to school.
Right.
Dogs get their shots, kids get their shots, and we as adults need to get our shots in order to be a part of a perfectly healthy, functioning society. So I don't see people dying from the vaccine in droves, and then suddenly their bodies are flung through the air, being magnetized to street light poles or a car passing by. I don't see their DNA mutating them into a werewolf or a zombie. Yet all these people are believing this stuff because they do the research on the internet. They watch YouTube, Fox News. As a medical professional, Wesley, what are your thoughts on all these arguments? Are they valid?
Number one, it does not make you magnetic in the least. It does not change your DNA. It does not put a microchip in you. It does nothing of the sort. The only thing it does is provoke a response in your body to produce antibodies to fight the virus if it enters your body. That's all it does, just like any other vaccine. Nothing magical, nothing demonic, no conspiracies, no secret cabals of government officials trying to control your body or to decrease your semen production.
It's my right not to get the vaccine. Well, yes. And it's also your employer's right to let you go or not hire you.
That is correct. I, as a healthcare provider, initially did not have to take the vaccine, but there was a point when I did, and I had no qualms because I had already taken it. I took the Moderna and basically had no problems with the actual vaccine.
So here's my beef with someone like David Paulides. His rights don't give him the license to kill.
No, they don't. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. And I don't know if you really want to go into all those issues, but it's kind of a narcissistic attitude when somebody wants to assert their rights affirmatively over others without giving it any serious thought. And that's the problem. Most of these people are not giving it serious thought.
Here's a photo taken over the summer, July 30th, I believe it was, at Squatch Fest, a Bigfoot conference here in Washington, just up the road from me.
Oh, I see David Paulides there with no mask.
No one's got a mask on.
Who else do I? Bob Gimlin? Oh my goodness!
And out of that
Everybody
lineup,
there.
Wesley, Bob Gimlin's the weakest one out of the bunch because of his age, his frailty. He even falls down at these conferences.
We may be getting that deathbed confession a little bit sooner than we thought.
That's dark, but true. Regardless that he's a hoaxer and perpetuated this sham, and regardless if he's been too friendly with the ladies, people still love him. I love him. You know what I mean? I've always said he's the grandfather I never had, but no one is taking into consideration his health, his susceptibility. And I've heard, and I can't verify this, that Bob Gimlin is vaccinated, but that doesn't mean you won't catch the Delta variant.
One can make the argument, Richter, that he's been given the information. The information is there for him to make up his mind to take the vaccine or to not take the vaccine. And if something bad happens to him, it's on him. We can only do so much as healthcare providers to save anybody's life. I don't care who it is.
You know, with a majority of Bigfooters, a lot of them are Christian. They're
Yes.
God-fearing people.
Yes.
Isn't there something in the Bible about being your brother's keeper?
There is something in the Bible that says, if you're sick, seek ye a physician.
No one is taking care of each other in the Bigfoot world.
No.
I've noticed this until it's too
Richter-
late.
Richter, the problem that we have is our country has become so politicized, so dynamically at odds with itself in the last 10 years that there is no semblance of reasonable discussion anymore. Nobody listens to anybody else. It's always me, 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 my rights above everybody else.
God, you sound like
With-
David Paulides when you did that.
The next week should be interesting to everybody. Pay special attention to what happens in Washington. Who knows?
That's the problem, though.
Yeah.
People aren't thinking collectively about their fellow man. We really kind of have to consider that. I wouldn't want David Paulides to get hit by a car. If I saw him get hit by a car, I'd stop and try to help the man, even though I detest what he writes. But I would still try to save his life.
Oh, of course.
I don't know that he would do the same for me.
I would too, and I would totally give him mouth to mouth. I'm vaccinated. I'll take the risk. He's got antibodies.
Very good. Very good. I've noticed some of your art of David Paulides was rather unique, shall we say.
That is a funny drawing.
It's hilarious. I cracked up on that one.
First of all, my prayers to everybody out there who might be suffering from the flu and this coronavirus. Now, don't interpret anything by what I'm going to say, but as many of you know, I'm a man of facts. And I want everyone to go out there and Google an article from 2017, 2018. And the Googling part of it is CNN, 2017, 2018 flu deaths.
What are the similarities of COVID and the flu? Is it the same thing?
No, they're not. The only thing they really have in common is that they're both caused by a virus. That's about it.
COVID and the flu share similar symptoms: fever, coughing, congestion, body aches, runny nose, etc.
Right.
So
And
you could have your temperature taken, be 102, and you could have the flu or you could have COVID. You won't know unless you take a COVID test, correct?
absolutely. Absolutely. The symptoms are indistinguishable in the early stages. You wouldn't even necessarily know the difference, or you may not even know that you have COVID, because a lot of people have a case and they have very, very little symptomology. They may feel a little malaise for a day or two. They feel just a little off, want to lay down, rest a little bit, but that's about it. They get over it, no problem. Other people, not so much.
In a roundabout year, 30,000 Americans die from the flu.
Yes.
We don't shut down over that. We don't wear face masks over that. La, la, la. But in 2 years, we've lost over 717,000 people in the United States alone to COVID-19. That tells me it's not the flu.
No, it's not.
COVID-19 is just another flu and not as serious. Is that really true?
COVID-19, or the novel coronavirus, is not just another flu. They come from completely different virus families. The common flu comes from influenza viruses, and COVID-19 is a family of coronaviruses. They do have some similarities. We know that the predominant symptoms of both of these are respiratory illnesses, but there are some really important differences as well. First of all, we believe that the coronavirus may be a little bit more contagious than the common flu. In addition, for subsets of the population, like people who are older or who have multiple medical problems, it appears to be more deadly.
Is it possible that as a vaccinated individual, you could have come into contact with someone with COVID and the particles that entered your body were immediately taken care of and you would not even know it? Is that possible?
That is possible if there's what's called a subclinical dose. In other words, for any virus or bacteria, you have to get a certain number of those bacteria into your body for the infection to actually take hold. Your body may be able to deal with 10 or 1,000 or 100,000 particles, maybe even 1,000,000 particles, but you don't necessarily know for sure.
Now, COVID is preventable, correct?
To a big degree, it is. If people take a little bit of caution, use a little bit of common sense, they can certainly get by without getting it. You betcha. Or if they do get it, they won't have a bad enough case that they end up buying a ventilator. And having a tube down your throat for 2 weeks, having it breathe for you is not a pleasant thing. I guarantee that.
Has your opinion of him changed at all with the clips I've sent you?
Not greatly. I can't say that I'm surprised. If a man's willing to write material like that at the expense of other people's deaths and disappearances, he wouldn't have any qualms about passing on COVID to somebody else.
Yeah, he has definitely made money off of people's pain and suffering.
Absolutely, he has, and I resent that. It's unnecessary. It's capricious, and it doesn't do anybody any good. Can you imagine the feelings of some of these families when they read their loved one is in a missing 411 book and David asserts in another place that he knows what's been going on, but he's not going to say? Really? Why, David?
Are you a fan of David Paulides?
Not particularly, no. I think that David Paulides' writing is expletive. I think he takes advantage of people's disappearances and deaths and writes about them in such a way to sell his books. But I notice if you read some of the comments about his books in forums like Amazon, people are starting to catch on that it's bunk.
One last question.
You got it.
Wesley, do you think Bigfoot is real?
No, I don't. I think there is a very, very infinitesimally small possibility that a creature exists. But given the fact that in 50 years since Roger's little charade, we have not found any living creature, we haven't found any bones, none have been hit by a car or a truck, none have been shot by some yahoo with a gun, none have been captured, everything that's turned up, like the Rick Dyer matter, was a hoax. So when a body turns up, then I'll say, yes, absolutely, it exists. But I haven't seen any proof that says it has.
And this is coming from a medical professional. So right on. So is COVID-19 real?
Oh, absolutely. You betcha. You can't see it. You can't necessarily touch it and feel it. It's very small.
It's like Bigfoot, right? Can't see it, can't touch it, but it's out there.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I've got some woods behind my house. Maybe he's there. I'll go look later.
Thank you for coming on, Wesley. I appreciate the fact that someone that has medical education could explain things in detail and back up what I've been feeling about this all along.
Rictor, I'm glad to be able to help you in any way that I possibly can. Thank you for having me.
So there you have it. The correct COVID vaccine information has been given to you, my little Squatch monsters, not just by me, but by a medical professional that's actually handling COVID patients right now. And I only have 3,000 subscribers. What if I had the 325,000 subscribers David Paulides has? Would Samantha Ritchie still be alive? What about Wayne Barnes and Mike Mraz? Good question. We won't ever know. Some of you will continue living in a state of ignorance, continue listening to your political echo chamber of reinforcing propaganda.
First of all, I hope everyone had a great New Year's and happy holidays. And let's hope 2021 is going to be a little better than 2020 was. And the next week should be interesting to everybody. Pay special attention to what happens in Washington. Who knows?
I don't want any more of my friends to die. I don't want you to die. I don't want anyone else to get sick from this pandemic. Yet no matter what I say or do, I'm the bad guy because I put science and country over political paranoia. You Bigfoot fanboys won't listen to science when it comes to your health. Yet you want science to take your so-called Bigfoot crap seriously when it's really deer hair that you're finding in your backyard? Please don't be hypocritical. You're all angry about the government telling you what you can and cannot do. Welcome to having a uterus, being gay, or being a minority. I just want you to wake up and realize that your life and your family and friends' lives are in danger by not getting the vaccine. What's more important to you? Bigfoot popularity with Trump cultists? Is it worth dying for? We've had state-mandated vaccines for over a century. My dogs even get their shots. I had to get mine. We ended polio with vaccines. Science is real, and apparently so is stupidity. David Paulides talks about a new world order in his Missing 411 videos.
If I can just convince one or two of the facts I'm going to give you and sway you over to understanding the world perspective, once you start to give up your liberties, the government is never going to stop trying to push you forward. Don't tell me something about parlor that's not true, because I've already done the research. I can guarantee to you there's not going to be any censorship.
The free speech protections of the First Amendment are so complicated, it's no surprise that most Americans seem to misunderstand them. Free speech is anything but absolute. In fact, it only prevents the government from intruding on speech.
What?
The First Amendment gives a person no right whatsoever to say whatever they want on a private company's platform.
No!
Ultimately, the First Amendment only limits government action. It gives a private person no right to say whatever they want in a private forum.
Folks, what in the hell is going on?
We all have the right to free speech, but there are times when those rights have tremendous consequences. Your rights end when it hits me on the nose, and people should be held accountable. So when you don't wear a mask or get vaccinated from a deadly pandemic that you conveniently dismiss as the flu, your freedom of doing so ends when it's hurting and killing others.
I'm still looking for a video site without the verbal restrictions, a site where you can monetize, a site where you can speak freely, a site where you own your videos, and once you upload, somebody else doesn't. And that's the big drawback at this point.
So you can't be held accountable for what you say and do online? The way I see it, David Paulides sees himself as a brave freedom fighter, thinking he's an advocate for his constitutional freedoms.
I'm not 1% concerned about Russia. I'm 100% concerned about China.
Not because he believes in equality, but because he believes exactly the opposite. He doesn't realize that he thinks his rights are preeminent over all others, because it's coming from his pulpit.
Just the facts, 411.
If he were to just step out of his stilettos for just 1 second and see what he's been saying. Let's talk about the rights that Mike, Samantha and Wayne don't have anymore. I bet if given the chance, Mike Mraz from the Bluff Creek Project wishes he could get a do-over and go get the vaccine. I also suspect that Samantha Ritchie would prefer spending Thanksgiving with her daughter instead of dying from COVID. And Wayne Barnes definitely would want a second chance to watch his granddaughter grow up. What did those three Bigfooters all have in common? They were all anti-vax, Bigfoot-loving Trump supporters. They deserve better from their Bigfoot social circles and their new world Bigfoot influencers. David Paulides is a social media influencer. His subscriber count on YouTube is in the hundreds of thousands. Some may argue he is the Bigfoot version of Alex Jones from InfoWars.
And as I've told you before, your mind is being programmed by various groups to think a specific way.
By masking his COVID propaganda with missing 411 titles on his channel, Paulides can be seen as being nefarious and highly dangerous as a conspiracy theorist. Does he think he's clever? Does he even know what he's doing? Is he getting carried away like that withered prune face from Canada, that hockey puck, Steve Isdahl?
You suck.
He doesn't have someone to edit him and pull his reins in like I do. And yes, I too get carried away with my banter. We can get carried away very easily and forget what our message is supposed to be about. Let me pose this question. What about David's audience and their right to live and be given the correct information about the virus to make proper decisions on their own? I want to present this so that David Paulides can understand this higher concept of social responsibility. Now please, don't think I'm being a dick here. I'm not. Just listen to what I'm trying to convey. Think about how many other sons out there that could have benefited from hearing accurate information on the pandemic and face masks. How many fathers have had to bury their sons because of Fox News rhetoric? I know David can relate to that kind of loss. Now think about what David has been transmitting to over 325,000 people over the past year and a half. He says he's about saving lives.
This is all about education and saving lives.
But is it only when it's convenient to fit his missing 411 narrative? I think his political belief system and his overcompensating arrogance overrides any common sense. The end result is a shown lack of compassion or humility he may have for his fellow man. That's my opinion after watching dozens of his propaganda videos. So put the political rhetoric in check and know what you're talking about. I will offer you some suggestions momentarily. A lot of big names in Bigfoot say they've done their own research, even David Paulides.
I've done the research, you can find it online.
If it's anything like your Bigfoot research, you're screwed. All you're doing is finding someone to corroborate what you already believe. Unless you're a scientist running a peer-reviewed study, you only know what you've been told by a toothless, diminished capacity Forrest Gump on Facebook. I wrote a Bigfoot book. People who think Bigfoot is giving them presents, transforming into balls of energy and flying around the forests. No wonder people are dying.
But just a piece of cloth you put over your face, that's like spitting through a cyclone fence. It may catch part of it, but it's sure not going to catch most of it. So really, what good are those?
You don't have better access to data than the CDC. You have parlor and no understanding of how medicine works. We have experts for a reason, and you choose not to listen to them. Hell, you can't even find Bigfoot for fuck's sake. You don't take any responsibility for your actions, and yet you go running to the hospital when you suddenly can't breathe anymore. Funny how that happens. That's not being a man. So let me ask, what good are you?
I've talked to you a lot about the Wikipedia page on me. It's a targeted piece meant to take me out. I get it. And obviously written by some people who don't like what I do. Why do I have such a hellacious Wikipedia segment about me?
First of all, calm down, McFly. Blood pressure. Second, why? Because people have debunked your work and held you accountable for what you say and what you print. It's as simple as that. Your behavior is hellacious, not someone's correct, fastidious reporting of your writing. You're not above scrutiny. You're not above ridicule. You're not above reproach. You're a public figure. You speak of having high morals, David, being a good person.
What about instilling high morals? Being a good person, helping the person across the street who needs it, donating your time to a nonprofit. What about instilling high morals?
Prove it. All I ask for you is to get the right information out to your audience about the virus, since you already took it upon yourself to do so. Therefore, creating the responsibility you probably didn't want to have. It's your mess. Clean it up.
He doesn't know what he's doing. He's lost his mind. He's a conspiracy theorist. No.
At the end of the day, who cares about Bigfoot and these overpriced missing 411 books? People are dying. People who watch your channel. People that I care about.
Not everyone's bad, and people change. Give them a chance.
Is that true, David? Do people change? Fix the mistakes you made. It's not too late to change course and take ownership of your missteps. To sound like you, let me ask, what good are you? Your channel has gone from missing 411 cases to a combination of a grief support group to a political social soapbox. It's getting messy. I have a few ideas for you since I'm a media and marketing know-it-all. Turn to page 69. Okay, I'm kidding. You can make more than one kind of video and host it on your channel, David. For example, David's thoughts on liberalism. I think that'd be awesome. I would watch that. David's advocacy on mental health. I would absolutely endorse that. And I would help you in any way that I could, David. And finally, David's epic rants. That would be a surefire winner, and I would love to see you lose your shit. That way, people know what they're getting. You're not being covert, and your message is being delivered to the right audience. Does that make sense? You're diluting your work by putting too much segregated commentary under one umbrella. That way, people won't fast forward to the good stuff in your videos. Keep it tight. David, help save lives. Don't confuse them with misinformation. I expect more from you. Be my hero. Your audience shouldn't be the next book of missing 411. This is the video that broke my heart. This man of facts equated COVID-19 to influenza with numbers from liberal media. Why hasn't he corrected his broadcast information?
So, first of all, my prayers to everybody out there who might be suffering from the flu and this coronavirus. Now, don't interpret anything by what I'm going to say, but as many of you know, I'm a man of facts. And I want everyone to go out there and Google an article from 2017, 2018. And the Googling part of it is CNN, 2017, 2018 flu deaths. How many flu deaths were there in the United States during that flu period from November to March? There were 80,000 per the CDC in the United States.
It was uploaded in March of 2020 and now has over 240,000 views as of this month, November 2021. This came out right when the pandemic hit us hard and we were all in quarantine. Instead of making things better, David let us all down. The question is, why bring up COVID at all?
The CDC reported on March 30th of this year, 2020, that the total cases in the US of coronavirus were 141,000. And there were 2,405 deaths to date. So think about this. Average flu year, 12 to 56,000 flu deaths. So far from the coronavirus, 2,405. Makes me think.
He made himself responsible for his viewers' information and safety by bringing up something he knew nothing about. He's not an infectious disease expert. He's a conspiracy theorist tugging on your emotions who had a phone call conversation with Bigfoot. Oh, you just wait, my little Squatch monsters. That part's coming up.
On the next Off the Rictor.
Hey, my little Squatch monsters. We only have 2 more episodes to go for Off the Rictor, the final season. I'm serious as a heart attack. So in the next episode, we're going to continue where we left off with David Paulides. It's not going to be serious like the COVID stuff. No. We're going to be taking a look at him interviewing some friends of mine. Joe Hauser from the Montana Vortex. Juan Moorhead from the Sierra Sounds. And that guy that's on Finding Bigfoot, Bubbles? Oh. Bo. Sorry.
Dude, I saw a Bigfoot. I'm a knower.
And then we're gonna take a look at Scott Carpenter. Who's that, you say?
That's a real good one. If you really look, you can see the left eye. You can see the sclera in the eye. See both nostrils.
I wish I was joking. You got to see his book. Oh my God. Truth Denied. Oh my gosh. If you thought the Steve Isdahl book was bad, this is no. I'm Scott Carpenter, and I've written 4 Bigfoot books. Look at this one. Can I read you a little bit? Okay, now come here, boys and girls. Uh-oh. On October 2010, an event happened that would rock the collective Bigfoot research world. A bear hunter named Justin Samaja would shoot 2 purported Bigfoot, 1 adult, a male, he had to pay, along with 1 juvenile. Dude. They're all hoaxers. You thought the Steve Isdahl book was bad? Oh, girl. This is no literary masterpiece. Ugh, God. Oof.
And that's a fact.
And then we're going to touch on Christopher Noel. Bless his heart. He supposedly filmed a Bigfoot.
Hello?
It's a porcupine.
You here?
Honey, Bigfoot's not real.
Just staring right out at me. Not bolting like a bear cub, say, would do. Hello?
And then, after that episode, is the Hall of Shame Awards. Who will be the Bigfoot hoaxer of the year? Will it be Steve Isdahl? David Paulides? Scott Carpenter? The She Squatchers?
Oh, yeah.
Igor Burtsev?
I talked to the Bigfoot on the telephone. His name is Greg, and he said, "Oh, Igor Burtsev, you're a researcher."
He talked to Bigfoot on the telephone.
Привет всем. That means greetings to all. Вот Дэвид Paulides, он как раз выпустил. Just say some words for him.
Greetings from the United States. It's great to hear you. Thank you.
Right there, David Paulides lost all credibility, all self-respect, and any integrity he may have had. Can I get my money back for this? God! The inmates have taken over the asylum. No wonder people are dying. No one's taking anything for real anymore. It's all make-believe. Having phone calls with Bigfoot? Are you kidding me? So who do you want to win my prestigious Hall of Shame Off the Rictor Award? Who's the biggest Bigfoot loser? I want to know. So tell me down below in the comments, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'll see you next time. Unless the crazy people come and take me away, because I can't believe I'm a part of something where grown men like David Paulides and Igor Burtsev talk to the Bigfoot on the telephone.
Just say some words for him.
Greetings from the United States. It's great to hear you. Thank you.
Is the joke on me? I mean, is the joke on me? Is everyone in on this joke in Bigfoot?
So really, what good are those? 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 So really, what good are those?
We hate Rictor!